Hello, I'm Hugo Burnham, the Gang of Four drummer. And I'm here for Amoeba Records. What's in my bag, but this is what's at my home. I pulled some that really mattered to me, and I want to share them with you. So, when I was a teenager, I got my first drum kit. I learned really by playing along to records that I loved. And this was the first one that really I spent a lot of time playing to. This is Bayou Country by Creedence Clearwater Revival. On the Bayou. Some great long, riffy songs that you could really get into the groove on. They were the first band I ever saw live at the Royal Albert Hall in 1970 or 71. Incredible act. I have all their records, but this is the one I would sit and play along to. Okay, similar era, a record that really meant a lot to me. It was one of the greatest records of its time. Alice Cooper, School's Out. It was so great because other than the music being great, what Alice did so beautifully was piss people off. English politicians, Mary Whitehouse, they wanted him banned, they wanted him in jail, they didn't want to let him into the country, but he came, he was fantastic. And this is my original copy. It's the school desk that opens up, and look, the original disposable panties that they came in. Fantastic, I love this record. Any song on here is great. You can see the back, you could actually, I didn't want to do it, but you could actually pull these down and it would stand up like a school desk. So Alice Cooper, School's Out. Fantastic record. Around that same sort of time, or earlier even, growing up in England, reggae music was a big part of our upbringing, big part of the musical zeitgeist. It was just there. And Trojan Records was the label. And they had a series of collections of hits called Tighten Up. They had a couple of others as well. But Tighten Up Volume 2, I think, is my favorite. The opening song, Long Shot Kick the Bucket by the Pioneers, which is about a racehorse dying. But not many people know that. But just brilliant stuff. And in fact, there's another one in that series that I also have from way back, Reggae Chartbusters. Every song on this, look at all these, just fantastic music. Huge influence, I think, on almost any English musician, certainly in my generation, growing up. So then the record that changed my life, our lives, many of us, that just did it, took us into a whole new world. And this was Haddon Street, no, can't remember that. But a school friend of mine, we used to go up to London, we found where it was, and it was like going to Mecca for us. I have stood in that phone box, and boy, it smelled of piss. And it was, there was lots of graffiti inside, Ziggy kids who write little, love you David, and things like that. And of course, hookers' phone numbers. But this whole album, and that time on Top of the Pops in 1972 when he was singing Starman, he just went, and he picked on you, who. I had to phone someone, so I picked on you, who. He was pointing at me. I've heard other people say the same thing, but it was me. All right, moving on a little bit. A huge influence on Gang of Four, or on all four of us, was this band, Dr. Feelgood. When you talk like that, you knock me out. This was their first album, Down by the Jetty, mono. Hard men, hard music, elemental, brilliant on stage. If you haven't seen them, go on YouTube and find them. Wilco Johnson, they were a huge influence on Gang of Four. Wilco, the guitar player, you listen to him and you'll hear Andy Gill in there too. Brilliant record. Another band that really influenced us, and I searched high and low for the record, it's somewhere maybe in the basement. The band was called Free. Fire and Water was the best album that I loved most. They were so young. They signed to Island Records, Chris Blackwell, of course. Very young. The bass player was 16, who was one of the main songwriters when they did Fire and Water. Fantastic band. They turned into, or two of them went on to form Bad Company, which was huge in the States. But if you have to listen to Free beyond just All Right Now. And Fire and Water is a great place to start. For my 60th birthday, John King, our singer, bought me this, which is a fabulous gift. Fantastic record. Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. I saw Miles Davis back in the mid-90s. I was in a band with Rob Dean, the guitar player from Japan, and we had a couple of months off, and we got a job roadieing for Miroslav Vitouš, bass player from Weather Report, and Stanley Clarke. And they were playing all around the European jazz festivals, doing a duet thing with their big bass fiddles. Now they flew everywhere, and Rob and I had a van and we drove their instruments all over Europe. It was exhausting, it was so much fun, and I got to see Miles 3 times in a 10-day period. And we were just standing on the side of the stage or down at the front. It was mesmerizing, utterly fantastic. So that's one of my favorite records. Back on the reggae thing, that whole punk thing with punk, post-punk, and then the two-tone movement. There's a great band called the Body Snatchers, and Rhoda Dakar, the singer, then joined the Specials, and she's still making music. She's an old friend of mine. We met back in the Ziggy days when we were sort of 15, 16, and this is her record.
It could be so easy. Life would be so easy.
I love Rhoda. She does great stuff. She was touring as a DJ and singing with the Selector in the States back before all this stuff started. Wonderful, wonderful. And another thing I was personally involved with, band called Westworld. I was working with them as their sort of manager before it all kicked off. It was Durwood from Generation X, who was a friend. We'd been in a band together, and then he formed Westworld. And there was this great song, Sonic Boom Boy. And we made these white labels, and in the singer Elizabeth's mum's house, we sat in the middle of the dining room or whatever it was, in the dining room table, and sprayed these. We took white labels and made them into something. And there's Sonic Boom Beat, which is the B-side. And the whole point was that we weren't going to sell it, but we went into, or they went into, record stores all over London, and like one did with one's own records, you go into a store, you go to the G's, you find a gang of 4 records, and you pull them to the front of the bin. Well, we just put these into record stores and thought, and then sort of a couple of other friends go and said, "Oh, have you got that Westworld record?" And they go, "What?" Anyway, I actually went away. I was on tour with Shriek back in Australia, so, this is before cell phones and faxes and all that sort of stuff, so we were out of touch for a while. It all kicked off when I was away, and they ended up getting a great deal with RCA Records, and they had hits. It was great. The whole caper worked. Of course, I think they messed it up slightly because they re-recorded everything for the album. It took far too long. This was a better version, but great band, good fun. And those are some of the records. I mean, all these books, mostly music books. I read a lot about music history, about the business, about the musicians, particularly about the business. A lot of really good things. Follow the Music is probably one of my favorite, by Jack Holtzman, about Elektra Records. Fantastic. I bought this for quite a few of the musicians that I used to manage because I thought they should really know how it used to be like. Wonderful book. Nice little note there from Jack. Lots of music books and a couple more records to share. Fantastic band. Wonderful box set that just came out recently. You should get it. You should get it. And then some obscure little box set band here. And then of course this. A bit dirty, but I guess that's what happens over the years. Public Image Limited. Great. Back to jazz, if you like. Charlie Watts, solo piece of work from one Charlie to another. Charlie Parker, Charlie Watts, Charlie Parker. So anyway, there's a brief look at some of the records that really mean a lot to me, meant a lot to me, still do, that I have here at home. So thank you, Amoeba Records. Really good fun. Hugo Burnham from Gang of Four. Bye-bye.
He says